to ensure that to our timing as promised. On that note, I will just read the profile of our next speaker. And our next speaker, of course, is the one, the only. I call him the mentor of mentors. And he's an accomplished and skilled HR executive and researcher with over 21 years experience across multiple sectors. He has one of the largest groups of HR mentorship in Nigeria, and also we have people who participate from those groups across other countries with over 6,000 HR professionals. He is a member of the governing council of CIPM and is also he holds several certifications, which include the senior professional, that's SPHRI, and of course the global practitioner, human resources, GPHR from HRCI, human resource from HRCI. He holds a PhD in economics from Lagos State University, the University of Lagos, and an MBA from Obafemi Awolowo University, in addition to an MSc from the University of Lagos. He's currently a research fellow at the Lagos Business School. He is a distinguished Toastmaster, and he has published over 48 papers in reputable journals. Before we leave this room, I'll find that link and post it. There are a lot of things you can read from the work that he has put out. Please join me as I welcome our next speaker, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun, DTM, to speak on leadership development, empowering the next generation of leaders.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator, and my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Ondo State chapter of the Charter Institute of Personnel Management. I thank the leadership and the membership. Thank you for this opportunity to share from my experience briefly during this pre-conference session. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking on leadership development, empowering the next generation of leaders. And why is this very important? Generally speaking, we know that there's a concept we call business continuity, and businesses are set up not just to survive, but to thrive and then to continue into multiple generations. And by that, for example, globally, you have organizations that are like 200 years old, 300 years old, 100 years old, and so on and so forth. And one of the characteristics and all marks of this generation of these organizations is how they manage, for example, their succession planning, how people move up the career ladder such that when somebody well, that's a network break. I think I'm back now, and to the best of my knowledge, I was just providing a general overview and introduction to why the topic is important, and we need to empower the next generation of leaders so that organizations can, be sustainable, so that organizations can achieve growth and organizations can remain agile. Now, what are the key reasons why leadership development is critical? One, to prepare for the future. And when we say future, we're not necessarily talking about 10 years time, 20 years time. Yes, that's part of the future. But even 1 to 3 years. So you can have short-term, medium-term, and long-term future. We need to prepare for all these spaces of future. We need to ensure succession planning. We also need to be able to sustain and drive innovation. And then very importantly, we need to attract and retain talent, because organizations where leadership development is taken seriously, what do you get? You get employees are willing to stay, knowing that they get equipped, they get developed, they get trained, and they have a future. Because if you don't see a future in an organization, if you don't see a future with the organization, the temptation will be to jump ship and look for any other organization where your potentials, your capabilities, your skills and talents can be developed, harnessed, and maximized. Now, when we talk about leadership development, there are different components, different things that we can develop. One of them is what? Skills or competencies, capabilities. Are we together? Now, when we talk about skills, when we talk about competencies, when we talk about capabilities, I'll just highlight a few. But note, what I'm highlighting right now is not an exhaustive list. For example, this is not negotiable. One of the things leaders and managers need is what we call strategic thinking. Bill Gates said that the reason we went to school, irrespective of our course of study, is to increase our capacity to think, analyze, and prefer solutions. But the more you grow in the organizational hierarchy, the more senior you are, the more critical it is that you can think strategically. Leaders need to be able to see the big picture, align their team's work with the organization's long goal. Another very key thing, and I'm happy we talk about this a lot right now than in the past, is emotional intelligence. High emotional intelligence is a critical skill that enables leaders to manage their own emotions, understand the emotions of others, build strong and collaborative teams. Okay, you are able to instill and enforce discipline without causing people to be detached from the organization. So you're able to retain the discretionary energy and effort of your employee. The third critical skill that we need in leadership development is change management. We know, and it's not a cliche, that the only constant thing in life is change. You can see we're in this economy with us. If you're in Nigeria or anywhere you are in the world and you're joining this session from, things are changing. Political changes, technological changes, even military changes, societal changes, even our norms, culture, and values are evolving. The kind of things we hear now were, so to speak, an abomination 20 years ago. So you need leaders and managers who can manage change, because future leaders must be able to guide their teams through what? Transition and through resilience. Last but not the least, which is something the facilitator, Faith, just before me, was expounding on, is communication and influence. So she has done a great job. I should probably still speak more around this. Apart from skill development, another thing we need to achieve effective leadership development for our colleagues, for our employees, for our team in the organization is mentoring and coaching. Yes, I know that mentoring is distinct from coaching, but both of them, so to speak, can also be what? Complementary. While one may, for example, be short-term, one may be more long-term, one may focus a little more on short-term goals and career projects, while the other may, depending on who is doing what. But these are skills that we need to provide. So we need to train people on how to mentor. We need to train people on how to coach. Then we also need to deploy mentoring schemes and coaching programs in the organization. Now, even if you are the MD or the CEO, you are a C-level official, you need to be coached so that you can get external perspective and support. You could also run coaching internally, okay, whatever works for you. But coaching helps provide guidance, insight into challenges and complexities of leadership. It helps to get and provide feedback on their leadership style and decision-making processes. It also helps provide emotional and professional support so that people can navigate their own development. Again, there are other things. So I've mentioned skill development, I've mentioned coaching and mentoring. I quickly mention some other things in the light of the brevity of time that I have. Okay, things like cross-functional exposure. So as people begin ascend in the career ladder, you may not only limit them to a function. So for example, let me use HR. You might have spent 15 years in HR. Do you want to go and try sales? It can be a temporary job rotation. You can move people around and that's why from some organizations, for example, from entry level, when they bring in new staff, through programs like graduate training programs, for example, they can run you do 3 months in each depot. You may now stay permanently in one particular location. But what that rotation across 8 strategic business units, 6 strategic business units does for you is that it makes you very grounded and very robust, okay, to the entire organizational framework, their practices, their systems. So no matter where they sit later on in their career, they can relate with how other functions of the business integrate with the central. So programs like rotational programs, cross-functional projects can also be very helpful. So from time to time, there will be project-like initiatives in the organization where you can pull people from different units and subunits together. These are things you do intentionally for people who are in your leadership program. Then let's just mention very briefly the need to also have diversity and inclusion. People must be comfortable to work with people from different tribes, different cultures, different backgrounds, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you need to cultivate inclusive leaders, people who can tolerate other, for lack of a decent, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, decent. People can hear information that is strange and they will not be thrown aback and they can still internalize it. Even if you are not going to accept an idea, the way you will communicate that you're not accepting it will not be in such a manner that will shut down the person and prevent that person from bringing any other idea in the future. Just to mention that, so leadership development, we need to empower leaders so that they can have a growth mindset. The reality is that resources will always be insufficient relative to the challenges and opportunities. So you need people who can work around problems. Doesn't matter whether it's a financial scarcity, it's a raw material scarcity, it's a people scarcity, we need to work around it. I'll give an example. Okay, so for example, Google has a leadership development program, all right, and they call it G2G, Googler to Googler. It's a peer-to-peer learning platform that allows employees to teach and mentor one another. The program empowers individuals to develop leadership skills organically and fosters a culture of what? Continuous learning. Unilever also has a leadership development pathway. The General Electric has a leadership development program too. Just to mention that some of these multinationals, great organizations have leadership development programs. One of the key takeaways is that if you don't have, you must set up a leadership program, development program at all. If you have, you must strengthen it and reinforce it. So HR plays a pivotal role in designing and implementing this program. You need to identify high potential employees. So it's not all your staff, not all your employees, not all the workers that will be in the leadership program. Of course, all your previous performance management will have helped you to identify key talents, high potential employees. You need to also provide extensive and ongoing training. You need to monitor their progress so that these things are. Now, in the interest of time, so I created like a draft leadership development program just for everyone in Ondo State and friends of Ondo State who have joined this session. So you will see here on the component here, there are 9 components. This is just an abridged version. So this is not like it must exactly be like this. But I wanted us to have a clear idea of what a leadership development program can be. You will see here, the first thing here, you will see the vision. Okay, you will see the vision and objective. You can see here that the second thing here is now leadership competency model. Now, if you look at the first point, which is vision and leadership, look at this. What is our vision? What is our objectives? Do you want to build a leadership pipeline? Do you want to develop leadership capabilities? Do you want to foster continuous learning and promote, for example, inclusivity? Then we go to our leadership competency model. Look at this. I mentioned 4 or 5. Strategic thinking will be part of it. For example, emotional intelligence, decision-making and problem-solving, communication and influence, and I even added diversity and inclusion. So because you need people who can work with any kind of person, any kind of resources, and still get results and the best out of them. Then in this our leadership development program, we also want to check what will be our learning and development approach. Okay, and it's important to know that when you are developing and implementing a leadership development framework, you must have multiple pathways for leadership. it must be multiple pathways. So, for example, you have combination of structured learning, experiential learning, and social learning. Structured learning can be workshops, seminars, webinars, this kind of training we're having right now, leadership programs and certifications. Okay, you can send them, for example, to business school, like my own school, Lagos Business School. Okay, then you can have experiential learning, like stretch assignments, job rotations, project, and so on and so forth. You can also have social learning, like which include mentoring and coaching and peer learning groups, just to give you example of different approaches and pathways for learning. But the best solution is that you combine all these three, not just one. Then you must have what we call a leadership pipeline development. We also have what we call a succession pipeline, where you have identified high potential employees and you are developing them for what? Future leadership roles. So for every role, for example, maybe CEO, you may have 3 people in the pipeline. For CFO, you may have 2 or 3 people in the pipeline. Why must you have multiple people in the pipeline for every role? You don't know the person that is already on his way to Canada. Okay, you don't know the person that is also on his way to his maker. You don't also know the person that is on his way to competition. So you don't want to be stranded and put all your eggs in one basket, and then you will not be angry and bitter that employee let you down. No, organizations don't work or run on sentiment. So you plan for the worst case scenario and for the best case scenario. So you do talent identification. You use data. For example, a tool you can use is the 9-box grid. All right, you personalize leadership development programs, timelines, and milestones. Okay, all right. Then you have inclusive leadership development. You want to create targeted programs for underrepresented group. For example, in your organization, women may be in the minority, or employees from a particular tribe or region may be in the community. So you will do a special program, intervention program for these people in this community. I remember when I used to work in the electric sector, we had to create a program for women engineers. Why? Women were in the minority. Why were they in the minority? It's an input problem, because even from the universities and polytechnic, you won't find too many women in engineering. So this is part of what? Inclusive leadership. Then performance measurement and continuous improvement. This is very key. People that are good needs to become better. People that are average needs to become excellent. And we need to create a program, process, monitoring, evaluation to drive this. Then we also need to have leadership development tests. What do I mean by leadership? Some people have this illusion that, maybe only managers should be prepared for leadership. No, I beg to differ. You need to have leadership development, for example, for entry level. You can call that emerging leader. So anybody from entry level to or to supervisor, just to keep it simple. So things like introductory leadership workshop, job shadowing, they can benefit from it. You can also have a program for middle level management. You can have people management trainings, cross-functional projects, and so on and so forth. Then you have the senior leaders, executive coaching, advanced leadership training, board simulation, crisis management, case studies, and so on and so forth. 8, as we begin to wrap up, you now need to create a leadership development roadmap, which is a timeline for implementing and refining your development programs. It could be 1 to 6 months if you want it to be very miniature or average. It could also be 6 to 12 months, then 12 to 18 months, then 18 to 24 months. So you cannot have 1 to 24 months. In that 1 to 24 months, you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Why am I going this granular? I want you to have a vivid example of what you can do, or what to either enrich your current program or to create a program, a leadership development program. From when I teach, I must see results, I must see action by tomorrow in your workplace. You must get value from this training. Last but not the least, continuous support and culture. So you also need a culture that integrates leadership development into performance management systems that recognize leadership growth through promotion and public recognition and praise. As I wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, leadership development is not a one-time investment. It's a continuous journey. Organizations that focus on developing their future leaders must create a pipeline of capable, adaptable, and innovative individuals ready to what? Lead through uncertainty and change. As we empower the next generation of leaders and companies, it will not only lead to growth, but ensure long-term success. We also build a culture of innovation, inclusivity, and growth. Ladies and gentlemen, at this intersection, I'm happy to take questions and comments. If I was fast, forgive me. Listen again. You'll get everything I've said. Madam Moderator, I'm with you.
Thank you for this. Thank you for this presentation. As always, any learning session with you, it's as easy as you are breaking our head, you are throwing stuff in, you are stuffing it in. So no matter how short the time is, I definitely, I have my book, I have a lot of notes written down here. I have written down a lot on how you have given us practical examples, things that we can do that just right now, even as of today, we can implement. Thank you most kindly, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun, for this very impactful session. For people who have questions, who have comments, please you can put your applauses in the chat box. You can give us feedback on how this has impacted you. But for those who have questions, please ensure you use the Q&A session so that we can take the questions that you have for him. I love that the session was practical. This is what you would get if you reached out to a consultant and said, I want a roadmap for a leadership training, I want a leadership roadmap or a framework for the organization. You'd have to pay millions to get this, and he just gave it to us here for free and told us how to put timelines and have phases for each part. My first question to you would be this. I particularly liked that you mentioned that within organizations, there is always a focus on just a certain cadre of people that should get leadership training, rather than focus on grooming them from whichever level they are. Now, I want to put context before I ask the question. Already when I was reading your profile, we are aware that you have a mentorship group that already grooms. No, even if you have an interest in HR, you're not in HR, you want to get in, that mentorship is already available. You have thousands of videos already on your YouTube channel where anybody can go in there and learn practically from people who are already doing this. Why is that important for organizations to not just focus on top management or senior management to deploy their leadership initiatives and development trainings? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator, for that insightful question, and again for the opportunity to speak to this great set of people. First and foremost, and I may be controversial here, but the reality is, in any organization, the frontline workers are perhaps the most important. Why is the frontline workers perhaps the most important? Because all businesses agree that customer is king. Now, who interfaces with the customers is the front line. Typically, the front line are the lower end stroke, the middle end of the organization. The senior people may now focus on strategic customers, maybe the HN, but the future of the business cannot be on 2-3 HNIs, because if something happens to those HNI, so you want to scale, you want to have the mass market, a bottom of the pyramid or middle of the pyramid, as the case may be. And the truth is, no organization or HR has monopoly over where innovation can break forth in any organization. So you want to make sure that from your front line to your senior level, anybody is able to innovate, conceptualize innovation, make it viable, and throw it up to the management. And so we cannot say, oh, just be training the management. By this, I mean the senior management. Don't forget that most organizations, even entry level, what you call them, MT. What does MT mean? Management training. So once you are an officer, to start with, your first job is what? Management training. So management journey has begun. Okay? And we need to have this perpetual consciousness that all of us as individuals in the organization, we are individually and collectively responsible for the greatness of the organization. And so we must develop leadership at all tiers so that we are honing people's skills and capabilities and preparing them for current roles and for future roles. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right, thank you for that. When you were speaking, you mentioned some organizations that already had leadership development programs in place. You mentioned the Google, you mentioned Unilever and General Electric, GE. Some people may hear that and say, oh, those are big organizations, they can afford, they have fancy budgets for such things. If I have a small organization, how as HR am I able to go to management to say, put this on the table, we need to have a coaching and mentoring system in place, we need to have a leadership development program in place. How as HR are we going to be able to sell that to management?
Okay, first and foremost, thank God my topic is leadership. In leadership, the most important resource is not money. The most important resource is an enabling or growth mindset. Once you have the right mindset, you will realize that either you need money or alternatives to money. For example, I'm speaking to you right now. Did you pay a dime? No, you did not. You didn't have to. So I'm going somewhere. So if somebody is in Ondo State, is a member of CIPM Ondo State, you probably have 50, 100 senior HR people at your disposal. You can create a 6 weeks management program in your organization every Friday, 8 to 10, and invite one HR professional to take it. After 6 weeks, your management will give you a help. So if you are now responsible, you can give them souvenir, you can give them something for their fuel, if you so desire. But internally too, you can have KSS, knowledge sharing session. Then everybody in your organization knows something that they can teach other people. So your CFO, for example, you can say, as part of your management development program, finance for non-finance. Let the CFO teach everybody some basic finance. Marketing for non-marketing. Let the chief marketing officer teach everybody. I'm saying don't be concerned or overwhelmed with what you don't have. Look inward, start with what you have, and as you begin to unlock value based on what you have, then your organization, based on your budget, will now begin to even get extra resources. You can use YouTube resources. Pamela just mentioned a YouTube channel where you can almost see almost any HR subject you need today. And if you check, you will always get. So it's first of all a growth mindset, a consciousness that you want to add value. Then how do you add the value from free to expensive? Of course, I agree that when you are now able to have some dedicated budget for investment in learning and development, you can now scale people and grow people. But organizations today who train in places like Lagos Business School don't train because they have money. They train because they know that when you train, you get more money. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. We'll just leave you with just one more question. Just one more question. I know you're running. Lastly, if anyone has any final question before this goes in, you might get the chance to have this answered. But particularly with when you were speaking about the skills development part of it, there are some areas that as leaders we don't pay attention to when we want to develop leadership skills. We just focus on the big things that are facing us. We want to focus on strategy. We are not looking at emotional intelligence. We are not looking at communication. We are not looking at change management. What general advice would you give to organizations or individuals who want to just make a difference in terms of just training the next generation of leaders? What advice would you give to them to say, this is the most critical skill that you should be prioritizing when you want to focus on training your next generation of leaders?
Okay. Thank you very much. In responding to this question, I would like to draw an analogy from a party. A party. Yes, you heard me out. Party. P-A-R-T-Y. If you want to give people the best feeding experience, how do you make that happen? It's a buffet. What is a buffet? A buffet is an array of food choices. If you just think that, oh, once you cook coconut rice, everybody will be happy. Yes, some people will be extremely happy, but some people want to eat this. Some people, if they don't see swallow, they are not going to be okay. It doesn't matter that you are giving them Chinese rice. So when it comes to leadership development, you also need a buffet. What's a buffet now? An array of skill development that will touch the different components. If you want to limit it to 2 components, I'll say technical and soft. Technicals are the maybe the engineering, the technical specialization, then the soft, the emotional intelligence, the change management, and so on. So you must make sure that you touch those 2 skills. So the more you can spread, the better. The reason is, even though we are professionals, we try to use tools, techniques to predict. You won't know everything that will happen in the future. So if you just block your mind and have a thinking strategy that is myopic, there will be some emerging challenges we will not be able to manage. There will also be emerging opportunities we will not be able to take advantage of. So you may now focus 60 to 70% of your training on what you are sure of. You need to also have training 30% or 20% for the unknown. That is why you must have a robust, and that's why, for example, we have L&D specialists, people who understand learning, who understand pedagogy, and also they now do learning and development. So this must be the approach to it, so that no matter the opportunity or no matter the challenges, we will be ready or almost ready. Don't forget that when we are doing leadership development, it's not like we have learned everything, but we have been equipped to learn, then to unlearn, and then to relearn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, kindly, graciously. We appreciate you. We do not take this for granted. And I know that everybody on this call has learned fantastic things. On that note, we'll excuse you. We know that we are almost at the mark where we said, well, we'll let you be for the day, but we do appreciate you for your wealth of experience and always being willing to share and to teach and to grow HR professionals and beyond within our space. Thank you so kindly. And on that note, we've come to the end of this particular presentation and Q&A session. Have a fantastic day, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun. He's going to be joining another meeting, so I don't know if you'll be here